All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Green White Checker TV. Tonight we are somehow, Dale, already on race number 6 of the Area 51 Superspeedway Cup Series here tonight at Talladega. Scheduled distance 75 laps for tonight's event. So you can see on the point side of things, though, Jim Brooks with the lead here over Kevin Hash by 15 after his win last week with that help from Bud Steele pushing him to the victory. And you got Gabe Butler third, Kevin Freeze fourth, Matt Quick rounds out our top 5. And then 6th through 10th here, we've got Brandon Pasalacqua, Todd Siebels, Mark Brown, Raymond Rittenauer, and Travis Turnmeyer. So I'll say, as we know, Daytona Talladega, it's going to be probably a little bit of a similar racing that they can do. Obviously, ability to go a little bit more or 3 wide, I should say, if they choose to here. But again, the big question mark week in, week out right now is going to be that draft package. To see if these guys if maybe they've done some adjustments on the setup side of things, or maybe just drivers getting familiar with these cars to see if we can really get that top and middle lines working a little bit better than we've seen the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I really expect. I mean, it's going to be the same. We've seen a lot of single file racing. You'll see some guys try the high side. Last week, Charles Johnson, I feel, found something. Doesn't look like he's going to grid tonight, though. So I'm interested to see if anybody else had picked up on maybe what he was doing.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what the strategy is going to be for some of these drivers here. We did see a few drivers go for the two stop strategy instead of the 3 stops. So we'll be curious to see if anybody can do that again here tonight. This is a slightly bigger track, 2.66 miles versus a 2.5 for Daytona. So it'll be a little bit harder to do. I mean, when you think about that little bit of distance, I mean, when you start adding up 25 times around, I'm like, that's adding a couple of miles to the distance compared to Daytona. So it'll be really tricky to see if anybody can do it. But it'll be fun to see if anybody is going to try to make that strategy. We saw a few drivers were going to make it work, but then that caution at the end of at the end of the second pit stop kind of just changed the whole complexion of that race last week.
And that kind of seems to be the way it goes for us. You know, we'll see somebody making a strategy call, and we'll discuss that and how it could work out. And then it seems there's always a caution or something will happen that'll throw it all off tilt. So.
Yeah, exactly right. Looks like qualifying just has completed here, so let's go ahead and pull up our starting grid for tonight's event. And on pole position is going to be the 87 Raymond Rittenauer. Not a surprise there. So we talked about last few weeks back, Mitchell Wilkes. Again, strong qualifying run for him in that 71 car. He was one that we've been talking about before, where we feel like he does have a lot of pace in that car. When he qualified up front last time, I think he just kind of played the team game. Didn't quite work out for him, so it'll be fun to see what he can do tonight. Then you got Gabe Butler there in 3rd, Kevin Freeze 4th, Kevin Hash in 5th. 6th got Michael Spell, Dean Wilkinson, and Randy Miner rounding out our top 8. 9th through 16th, you've got Eric Laurie, Mark Brown, Todd Merkel, Matt Quick, Bud Steele, Harrison Womack, Bobby Hash, and Chad Wilkes in 16th. And 17th through 24th, you got Craig Forsythe, Alberto Lopez, Kyle Hess, Roy Grandy, Kawabi Brooks, Paul Patterson, Robbie Richards, and Matt Wagner. The remainder of the field here, these drivers opting not to put down lap times here. You got Dude Conrad, Dwight Plush, Jim Brooks, Todd Siebels, and Nick Manfredi. So the grid's just about completely forming up here, so we'll get going in just a little bit. But I don't know, Dale. It's going to be interesting to see if any adjustments have been made, like I said, on the driver's side, if maybe they've made a little bit of tweaks on the setup side as well. I know I've been talking with some drivers after last week's race, and a few of them felt pretty comfortable that they could make something happen if they could get lined up with the right people to make that top side happen. So we'll have to keep an eye and see if that comes into play this evening as well.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen any big patches or changes coming out of iRacing. I really expected that to have happened already, and I still suspect they're gonna adjust and change something. I mean, look how quick they made changes to the Cup Car at Bristol Dirt, but hopefully, you know, these guys can learn and adapt, and you know, we can get back to where it's super competitive. It's still good racing in my opinion. It's just not. We're not getting those, you know, side by side at the line finishes like we had been.
Yeah, exactly right. So yeah, it's been a little bit different than what we've been used to, but we'll have to see kind of how it comes into play here tonight. And so double checking, I thought I updated my paint schemes here. Let me see if I'm going to do a quick refresh here, see if I can get it working correctly. So you see all the cars disappear for a moment, then they should show up here back in just a moment. So I was noticing my banners weren't showing the way I expected them to, so I was like, wait a second. There we go. I see some colorful banners starting to pop up in these cars now, so that's gonna, I'll say, hopefully it'll help determine a few things as this race goes on tonight. But yeah, so say it'll be very interesting to see how this one goes. They've got 29 cars taking grid this evening. As always, the one faster pair, 3 attempts of a green-white checkered finish should it come into play, which I'll say it'll really bring in the tire and fuel strategy here as well.
Yeah, you know, we talk about tire strategy, fuel strategy. We talk about drivers who seem to link up all the time and do big things. And Raymond Rittenauer starting on the pole with Gabe Butler, you know, already right behind him, so their job's a lot easier than it has been the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, so even Kevin Hash in the 03, he's in a really good spot as well. So I think we'll see those guys probably just cruise on the inside line here. The one we'll have to watch to see if Kevin Freeze, if he can find his way down to that inside line. I was saying I'll say that, of course, though, that's what we could see, though, is maybe see if he hooks up with that 71, though, of Mitchell Wilkes, maybe tries to push him up to the front. And I think that's what we're going to see, is those ones that do get up front, I think they're just going to try to ride there and kind of just stay up front and kind of have the control of this one. All right, pace car is in. You can see the field here heading through the tri-oval. Saying we'll get the green flag. We'll get underway here again. 75 laps is the distance as green flag is out, and we are underway here at Talladega. 75 laps again, race distance as the drivers head off into turn number 1 for the first time.
Look at the start that Raymond Rittenauer and Gabe Butler got on everybody behind them. I mean, they yarded them there off the start finish line by 2 or 3 cars.
Yeah, saying that was actually a perfect situation. You saw the 25 of Kevin Freeze immediately drop to the inside. They're able to slide right in. So I'll say this, and I think that's, I wouldn't say it's part of the plan, but I think as soon as Kevin Freeze saw the opening, he was jumping in there. And I see one car, one car blinking really bad. Looks like that's the 101 Randy Miner. And you see him, he's actually going to go ahead and jump to the top here and just try to get out of the way and let everybody cycle through. I think he just does not want to play an outcome anybody's race here at this point or early on. The one I'm a little worried about, though, is I'm confused. You guys see what happened here is that 8 of Dude Conrad, he's actually coming to the pits now, it looks like. So not sure what went on with the 8 car. Actually now he's staying on track here. But something going on with the A machine right now. Now looks like it's getting back up to speed, but unfortunately not going to be what he wanted here to start things off tonight.
Yeah, I didn't see what happened there. I was kind of watching how the top line, you know, everybody merged in or fell back, and I think, you know, what we're really seeing here is just there's no confidence anymore in that outside line.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think just everybody's kind of just, yeah, like I said, just lost faith in that outside line. So as soon as there's an opening and gets to the bottom, they do that. Saying the problem with that is that's kind of where we see those accordion effects come into play. But a perfect example is, I mean, our outside pole sitter was that 71 of Mitchell Wilkes. I mean, you look to see where he cycled through now. I mean, he's falling all the way back to the back right now. Let's actually pull up our ticker here. So I'm waiting for it to cycle through, but looks like he's back into the, almost into the, yeah, the very end of the lead pack here. He's going to fall in behind Nick Manfredi in the 29 car. So it just shows you if you don't have that line you need, he's going to fall from second to 28th, it looks like, here on these opening 2 laps.
Yeah, and that's all it takes, you know, 2-3 laps, and we're single file all the way to the rear of the field.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. We are completely single file here from the front to the back right now. So I think everybody's, again, just the strategies have just changed so much with this, and that's going to be the question, is who's going to be the one to maybe try to push a move. Like you said before, last week was the 9 of Charles Johnson. So unfortunately, you mentioned, don't see him here this evening. So we'll see if anybody's going to maybe try to adjust based on what they've learned here. But with where we are in the race here so far early on, I don't think we'll see probably too much happen at the very beginning of this one. And also, though, again, going to mention that if 71 Mitchell Wilkes looks like he was not able to keep with the draft here, so unfortunately, it's going to put him even in a worse position now.
Yeah, and being out of the draft, everybody's single file. There's a lot less chance of an incident happening. So he's going to continue to fall back, and really the way they're running right now, I don't foresee a caution anytime soon.
Yeah, Todd Steebles, he just had a moment. He had to go all the way down to the apron before turn 3 and then able to get back up on top. But So he's going to be in the same boat now. He's going to be falling way back in that 45 car as well. So say towards the back of the pack, they got to be a little careful not to fall too far back. I'm looking at like that 29 Nick Manfredi, Jim Brooks in 76. They need to try to hustle up here a little bit to make sure that they don't fall out of this lead pack as well.
Yeah, and they're kind of spaced out. I think all the way back to the 101 car. I think they're good on the draft. They're just kind of perfectly spaced, but it kind of right on the edge too, where it could go the opposite way.
Yeah, so that's where I'm kind of worried, is right around Dwight Plesh. I'll say he's a little bit of a distance away now from Paul Patterson and 26 in front of him. So I think what Dwight's going to need is he's going to need those two behind him to kind of give him that little push to kind of push that momentum up. And as I say that, it looks like Jim and Nick get to the back of him here. So they're going to have to try to work pretty hard, and maybe if they can pick up the 101 as well, that'll help that speed out. So we'll keep an eye on lap times here. But right now, say those guys are possibly in a little bit of a tight spot here, because actually that last time by, that 44 car was a fair bit slower than that lead pack. So yeah, they're gonna have to hustle here to try to close that gap back up here.
But we've seen Jim Brooks, kind of fall back, and they form a second pack pretty much every week with this new package. And last week it didn't work out so bad for Jim.
Yeah, it turned out okay for him when it was all said and done. I saw Chad Wilkes. I think he was trying to make a move there. Wasn't able to do exactly what he wanted to. He jumps right back to the inside. So he actually pops in front of one of the new faces in the field here this evening, that 28 of Harrison Womack. So he's got that Havoline paint scheme on that car. So nice to see again some new names, new faces to the league here with these guys. So we'll see. I don't know if Harrison's run with this group before or not, or maybe just has missed a few races here. But let's say again, a new name, new face to the league here with these guys tonight. So I'm going to keep an eye on. I want to definitely keep an eye and see if anybody's going to make some moves to try to do that side drafts like we talked about. Maybe try to, because one of the things that I really heard is you got to get to the outside quarter panel basically of that car, slow them down, but then you have to get away from them. And I think that's where we've seen some mistakes, where you stay too close and you slow both of yourselves down instead of trying to pull away and then use that side draft to kind of sneak a little bit of extra space.
Yeah, and like I said, just nobody has confidence. Like, you're not even seeing anybody really try it. Just what we had, 6 weeks ago at the start of this season versus what we have now is entirely different. And I mean, like I say, it's not horrible racing. Don't get me wrong. It's just that it's not what we're used to. It's more kind of reminds me of back in the NASCAR racing 2003 days.
Yeah, there's a lot more strategy now involved. Well, not even strategy, but it's more of a chess game, I feel like, is the way to word it, where let's say a lot of people are just, you have to make the right move at the right time because you're afraid you won't be able to get those spots back, I think, otherwise, versus before, where you could still, like if you look into the situation right now where Matt Wagner's in, him and Roy Grandy, they're kind of stuck behind now with each other here. And normally they could lock up and push, kind of lock on with each other, tandem draft, and get right back up into this field here. But this new package just doesn't have the comfort to do that. Say basically what Matt would have to do is drag his brake to pick up that 18 car. But we've seen that these cars just don't seem to line up and be able to tandem like they used to with this update.
Yeah, we saw 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, Matt Wagner and Matt Quick do that. Matt Quick was dragging the brake, letting Wagner get right to his bumper, and they made really good time doing that. But there's some skill involved, and you got to practice that. It's not something you're just going to say, "Hey, I'm going to do this," because it's real easy to get yourself turned around.
Exactly, and that's what I saw was you could do it, but it would make the car real sketchy if you weren't lined up exactly right. So you have to have a lot of faith in that guy behind you, and I think that's where the trouble comes in. So you can see now that group with Dwight Plesh and Jim Brooks, Nick Manfredi, and Paul Patterson, they have caught them. So I'll say now you're going to see that pace of this group behind pick up that much more. So we'll see how their lap times in the next couple laps compare to the group up front. So right now the leader's running in the low 49s here. That last time by Dwight Plesh, though, was the leader of the second group catching. He was still 49.3, so still a couple tenths slower. So yeah, they're going to really need to probably be a little more aggressive on this drafting to try to catch that group if they want to.
Looked like Eric Laurie might have been poking out there. I'm not sure if he was thinking about making a move or just cooling the car down.
And that's actually another good point, Dale. We haven't talked about that, as well as the temperatures of these cars. I mean, that's going to be another unknown, is how how differently are they now with how hot they get, how quickly. I'd say it's a big question mark for a lot of these guys. They probably aren't too familiar with how tight they can run with one another before these cars get hot and that sort of situation as well. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, we've seen, like I said, we saw some tandem drafting towards the end of last week's race. I believe it was Kevin Freeze was working the top side and they were able to lock on, but and Kevin had mentioned, he was actually, the engines were actually starting to have issues sooner than what they were in the previous cases as well. So before, like you said, with the old build, you could get to about 300, and that was about as far as you could go without really risking it. Whereas now, I think it was in the 280s, 290s was about the max you could really bring those temps to.
Yeah, and that's, it's been in the 300 for quite some time, so everybody's having to relearn, what they already know about these motors and how they race and all that. It's just a huge adjustment period for people.
Yeah, exactly right. So the one I'm also keeping an eye on, I'll say, was our pusher last week, Bud Steele, in that 6 car. I feel like he's kind of just, we always talk about that little gap you'll see between some cars sometimes. You see he's got like a nice little margin in front of him and behind him, so I'm thinking that this might be that that fuel savings approach here, where you kind of just don't try not to quite full throttle it to be able to, again, you can still hold the draft here, but you're going to save that maybe extra lap or so of fuel. So I wonder if we might see Bud try that strategy here in that 6 machine, trying to stretch that fuel. So obviously the one we really will probably be keeping an eye on more often than not, depending how this race goes, that 89 of Matt Quick. So he's kind of our Mr. Fuel Save in that car. So it'll be interesting to see if anybody's able to pull off this strategy here tonight.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. If Matt Quick's pitting, that means he's right on the number and not going to make it to the next lap. So
yeah, we'll jump around here. We're going to look at lap speeds or lap times again. So we talked about Raymond Rittenauer leading the field here. Last time it was a 48.97 for him. And then let's see who's leading this group now behind. Looks like Matt Wagner's taken over. His last time was a 49.26. So again, still a couple tenths off per lap here. Let's say they're trying to do what they can, but just unfortunately, I think just the sheer numbers is what's helping that first group right now. Yeah,
everybody's kind of behind, Bud Steele in that 6 car. Everybody's kind of lagging back, and they're not really well organized. We know that Raymond Rittenauer, Gabe Butler, Kevin Freeze, Kevin Hash, Dean Wilkinson, Eric Laurie, that whole top 6 or 7 cars, like, they're great drafting. They're able to stay tight and in line. We see it week in and week out. So I kind of get concerned when guys are spreading out behind them like they are.
Yeah, saying the ones that get the most concern are like where you see back here, Michael Spelly's a little bit further back probably than he wants to be. Again, you see the 53 as well. So these guys have kind of fallen off just a little bit here. So they're going to have to do the same here. They're going to have to try to regroup and close this gap back down. I think they're close enough to do so. That's also going to be that same situation where they got to be careful about the side draft and that sort of situation, because one person, and we saw last week, one person, you grab the side draft, and if it slows enough people down, you could lose the main draft pack. So they have to be very smart about trying to make these passes happen here throughout the race.
Yeah, and I kind of thought maybe that's what Bud was doing, hanging back and just trying to get a run, and because Todd Merkles is leaving a little bit of gap, more than he has to between himself and Eric Laurie. So I thought maybe Bud was going to try that move, but he hasn't. He's just kind of riding where he is. So I do think he's in full fuel save mode.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. So another one to mention here we haven't talked about at the moment here is that 27 of Craig Forsythe. So I know he's going to be very happy about it. So I think this is pretty much one of his first weeks back with being able to use his feet and his pedals again. So he had the surgery on his foot, or feet I should say, a few weeks back, or I think actually over a month back now. And so he'd been using hand controls for the longest time, and so I believe it was on Wednesday was his first race back using the pedals. And so I know he was very excited about that, so I'm sure this will be the same thing. I'll say might be a nice little exercise, especially for that right foot, I say because he's not going to be off the floor of that thing too much.
No, absolutely. And think of the dedication in what you just said. Like this is a hobby. If you don't do it for a month, it ain't that big of a deal. But to go and adapt so he can use hand controls and all that and race every week, that's very, very dedicated.
Yeah, it's amazing what people will do. I think that's one of those things, like you said, just the commitment you kind of put yourself to, and also just the competitive nature of people as well. So you one of the things like, wow, I don't want to lose 4 races, 5 races, and then not have a chance at the point standings on things. So, yeah, it's really cool though to see Craig kind of back in full force. And so, of course, the Indy Series is going to be where we'll really see the benefits of that for him. I'll say, because that was obviously hampering him a little bit in that sense of things. But yeah, it should be a pretty exciting thing to see how he's able to do. As I was about to mention, say leaders are coming up on that 8 of Dude Conrad. He was the one that fell off the lead pack right off the bat here. So he's going to be the first car to go 1 lap down here in just a moment. Then also the 80 and Michael Spell. I'm not sure if this is by choice or not, Dale, but it looks like he's fallen back to the lead pack here, or the second pack, I should say, with Matt Wagner and company. Say they're just about to pick him up now this in this next lap or so. So I'm wondering if he's maybe just trying to pick up some of his teammates there, or maybe just just trying to go with a different approach here.
Yeah, not really sure. And looking at the times, that second group was about 2/10 faster that last lap, so they're making some time.
Yeah, it's true. So yeah, you're right. Matt Wagner ran a 69 or 49.67 compared to a 49.81 for Raymond Rittenauer. So I say the lot time have picked up a little bit. I say it could have been a little bit from them picking up the draft of that 80 at Michael Spell. And actually, you see here, I think this is maybe part of the strategy. You see Matt Wagner, he opted not to pass him. He just wanted to get to the back bumper of the 88 car. So I think this might be where they're going to try to use that drafting approach and see if they can maybe pick up the speed that way. So I'll say we saw just a slight bit of tandem that last time by. We'll see if that maybe helped out the speed overall for these two. Because we talked about that. If you can get within that bubble, that's where you can really make some time happen. So Raymond Rittenauer last time at 49.262. Matt Wagner this time around was a 49.580. So actually a little bit slower that last time by for that first group. So, or the second group, I should say. So, well, we'll keep an eye on the lap times. But yeah, right now just does not seem to be working for him.
I keep focusing on Bud Steele and that gap. It's growing. I mean, he's not in risk of losing it right now, but I mean it's concerning to me how far back he gets from Todd Merkel.
Yeah, but I say it seems like that must be just like a good pocket to be in or something like that, because yeah, you see like he's got zero pressure from that 3 car behind him of Bobby Hash. And then I say, like I said, he's still holding that pretty much steady gap between himself and the 81 of Todd Merkel. So I'm very interested myself. We'll have to see if he maybe does by chance get some better mileage than those around him. Say maybe he's found kind of the happy medium of distance between these cars to run that kind of that perfect fuel mileage, but still keeping in the draft.
Yeah, not a whole lot of moving and shaking though. I mean, everybody's just real, complacent, I guess, with where they're running. Nobody's willing to step out and take the risk right now. 20 laps in.
Yeah, so I think, like I said, I think it's going to be one of those things where I think they're going to try to make the pit stops be the story of the race and possibly the deciding factor of the race. I'll say right now one of the biggest movers, I'll say somehow through all this, is that 20 of Alberto Lopez. He's right behind that 3 of Bobby Hash. He's gone from 18 to 10th in those opening couple of laps before everybody kind of dropped in single file. So I say he was able to make some pretty big ground right away, but I'll say obviously from then on, we've been pretty much running solo with these guys. So for the most part, most of the top 10 or so are right where they qualified. I'll say there's a couple of those outside of it where like the 20, the 3, the 6, and the 81. I'll say they've gained about maybe 3-4 spots, but I think Alberto going +8 is definitely the highest gainer thus far. I said these are situations that, I mean, it might affect the strategy of these races as well on the qualifying side of things. From what I'm thinking about here, just I mean, when you think about how those guys that qualified in the back, they weren't able to get up there before everything kicked off. So I think this might even, if things don't change between now and then, I think the qualifying could become a much more important situation for these guys.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. From what we just seen here today, you want to be on that inside line. I don't see any way around it. I think I like to think at least that the confidence will come back. Guys will start trying things as we have a bunch of takers to pit road.
Yeah, it's a big set of pit stops here going on. Looks like about 10 at least. And it looks, Todd Merkel, a bit of a moment there. Well, he was getting slowed down. I think they were able to stay off of one another. So it looks like Yeah, I'd say over 10 cars here. Also looks like Jim Brooks, Matt Wagner company, they're hitting the pits as well. So that's now going to cycle Kevin Hash to the point. And saying he actually in front of him, he's got that 8 of Dude Conrad. Say that puts Dude at the tail end of the lead lap here. And so we'll see. Say the ones we were kind of wondering about were the 6 of Bud Steele. How far could he go? Because right now we're on lap number 23 of this run. But you see one of those drivers that fell off the back of this pack, unfortunately, during the pit stop cycle at 53 of Quabi Brooks. I'll say he probably needs a pit this time just to minimize damage here to kind of limit time lost. But actually, here comes a big group. Looks like, all but Bud Steele are going to pit this time. So this is going to really hurt Bud here because he's going to be running pretty much a full lap here, but without a draft unless he can kind of grab onto some people during the pit stop exits.
I don't know if he was watching at 53, but he just came in incredibly hot.
I did not. So we'll see if he got a pit penalty for it or not pretty shortly. Oh, yeah, it's almost good. Okay, he gets into stall okay there. And actually, it looks like Bud might be able to tag on to get some draft here on his pit exit, so could wind up being not as bad of a hindrance as it could be here. Definitely see, looks like I think Todd Merkel, he did get busted for speeding based on his pit stop time. But otherwise, I think so far that everybody's had a pretty clean stop. And yeah, 53, still sitting in the pit, so I'm going to say, yeah, definitely caught speeding on entry here. So I'm sure we're going to see Bud Steele in this time around. So he's going to be pitting here on lap 24, coming to 25. And we'll see, hopefully he gets down to speed as well. Looks like he just gets it done there. So now the question is, who is winning the pit stop battle on exit here? I think it might be the 03, it was the 03 Kevin Hash, as he gets pretty much everybody running around him now. So it looks like Raymond Rittenauer is going to be the leader after the first pit stop cycle here. So I see Bud Steele leaving the pits now in that 6 machine.
And we got cars on the front stretch sideways.
Oh yeah, oh you're right. Yeah, that's the 27, the 86. That's Craig Forsythe, Kyle Hess involved. Somehow still green for the moment. The 12 of Robbie Richards way off pace. He's trying to get back up to speed here, but somehow we do stay green out of all this deal. So I say, well, the cars still cycle around on track. We're going to go back and take a look, see what happened here. So this is on replay right now. I see him all catching the 89 of Matt Quick. And we'll see if we can find what... Oh, actually a little bit of net code it looks like between the 12 and the 86 there. And then unfortunately, I'll say the 86... 86-27 take pretty heavy shots to the inside wall there but at the pit entry. So say I think they're going straight in to get that fast repair taken care of. But say downside is for Matt Quick is he loses his drafting help. So we'll jump back live now here on that one. So it looks like he has picked up a few helpers now behind him. But right now, say with everything cycling through, say Raymond Rittenauer, he's taking over the race lead. So that's given us about, it looks like 8 drivers here, or no, not quite 8 drivers actually. It looks like, what are we showing here? About 7 drivers here on this lead pack right now.
You know, I try not to be critical about the changes and all this because in my 12 years of iRacing, 11 years of iRacing now, I've seen just a ton of changes. So I try not to be critical because I've seen good and bad changes. But that incident right there kind of illustrates to me why I think putting the side drafting in might be a bad idea at this current time.
Yes, and I think there needs to be a balance. I think that's where the problem is, at least from my standpoint, is just you gotta find that happy medium. Whereas before there wasn't really much of a side draft, if any. You could tandem and make lots of time that way. But now all that's happened is you've lost the tandem abilities and you have a lot of side draft. So the problem, and I think that's the issue. If you could actually lock on with one another and really kind of get the full speed out of these cars like we've seen before, I think then you would be in a lot better position with the side draft as well. So Jose, like I said, we'll see if anything changes from it. I think the most likely opportunity for changes to happen would be when those big events start coming to iRacing again, like with the Coke Series, things like that. That seems to be really when the big changes get made by the kind of the powers that be at iRacing.
Yeah, and I mean I agree with you, but I don't. You can't expect guys to try to side draft when you're getting a net code a foot off like that, and it doesn't happen all the time. But it's risk versus reward. Is it really worth possibly wrecking you and potentially the entire field to get a little bit of side draft?
Yeah, exactly right. I'd say it's not definitely not an ideal situation. Yeah, it's a tough situation for a lot of these guys, and they feel like they're doing what kind of has to be done to get themselves where they need to be. And yeah, say like I said, just with net code and things of that nature in iRacing, I mean, side drafting it kind of like I said it's like putting your hand near the stove. You know, it's like at some point you're going to touch it, you're going to get burned, and that's unfortunately what we've seen happen. It looks like on this situation. So yeah, so right now kind of two packs really. You got like I said the top seven. Raymond Rittenauer, Gabe Butler, Kevin Freeze, Eric Laurie, sorry, Dean Wilkinson, Chad Wilson, Kevin Hash. They're all on this lead pack right here. Bud Steele, say he went further than anybody, but now he's pretty much having to force to probably use what he had gained there. He does have some help from that numbers 53 of Quabi Brooks after his speeding penalty. I'll say they're trying to kind of minimize their time loss with this. I'll say so. I think some good teamwork between the two of them. And then leading that second group here, though, you got the 89 of Matt Quick. I say he's got a lot of help as well, though. Looks like between himself, you got Bobby Hash, Alberto Lopez, you got Harrison Womack, Mark Brown, and then a little further back, Matt Wagner's not too far from catching these guys. So I'll say that pack's going to get a little larger. Maybe, hopefully, it'll help pick up some speed and say maybe they can start trying to close that gap. But the problem is that gap is now over 13 seconds between himself and Raymond Rittenauer.
Yeah, and you know, when they do get together, if they are faster, they're only going to be faster by, you know, a couple tenths, maybe even a half a second. But that's another pit stop if they're making up a half a second a lap.
Yeah, exactly right. So it's going to be a lot to do to try to make that happen. So, like I said, I think right now if you're up front in this lead pack here, I don't think you're going to try to kind of rock the boat here. You're just going to try to ride and minimize the damage opportunities here to do the best you can here. What I think we could see here, though, is a little bit of a fight for lucky dog positions. Right now, that 45 of Todd Siebels, he's actually the third car one down. The 81 of Todd Merkel, you can see he's actually really fighting hard to try to get up there, trying to get around that 03 of Kevin Hash. That's where you have to be careful about that side draft, though. Because he wants to get up to that number 8 machine of Dude Conrad, as Dude right here is the first car one down as they run.
If there's a point to be proven, Matt Wagner is proving it now because he has continued his run, and they are now on the outside making ground of that second pack.
Yeah, we'll see how that outside line. Actually, I also just noticed now the one car kind of fell off the group, the 28 of Harrison Womack. Not sure if he had something happen to him when they got to him. That's completely dropped him off of this lead pack as well, or the second pack as well. Yeah, so say Matt Wagner's trying to make this top line happen. We'll see if he can do anything with it. He's got four total in this line. Obviously the 88, the 76 there, and also the 101. So they've been able to get about halfway, but it's kind of stalled out here. So I'm trying to look at lap times here. Matt Wagner 49.8 that last time by. Matt Quick was a 50.0. But again, our leaders, though, just with them, the way they run, how well they run with one another, they ran a 48.8, so over a second slower that last time around.
Yeah, definitely not the direction they want to go, but I'm just happy to see somebody trying something new, giving it a shot and seeing what can be made of it, because with the old draft package, the side-by-side drafting was the fastest way around a racetrack. You get cars next to each other, they were faster than cars in a single file. So,
yeah, that's very true as well. So that was one of the strategies that we've seen before was you'd have people like, okay, you have a big pack, but they're, let's say, 5 seconds behind the leaders. Okay, let's double up and we'll be able to catch that lead pack. So we'll see. I'll say right now, again, just the lap times though. Matt Wagner, his lap times are actually pretty comparable to Matt Quick, who's leading this group on the inside line. It is working to some extent. I'll say as you can see there, the 88 Michael trying to push that A11 car. But again, these cars, just whatever it is with that changes, they do not line up like they used to. I think that's also a big part of it. I think that's obviously the bubbles with the one part, Dale. But then once you actually can lock on, you can't stick with it like you normally could.
Yeah, it feels like they implemented this air bubble we talk about. It kind of feels like, it's lifting the car up, like it hits the back bumper off the nose of the car behind you, and it just picks you up off the ground.
Yeah, it's a very, very awkward feeling for sure with these guys. So, say they're doing all they can right now, but yeah, like I said, just right now they're going to need some help, unfortunately, to get there. They are going to start slowly but surely catching that 6 of Bud Steele and Quabi Brooks. So say Bud Steele on the lead lap in the 8th position. So I mean, I say again, I mean this second pack they're way off here, but this is still, I mean, these guys are going to be fighting for a top 10 finish as if things run as they are here. Because right now, say we're on lap 35 here, 41 to go. So. Not too far away from the halfway point in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're paying attention to the intervals and realizing they're losing a second lap. But, I mean, this should give, or hopefully give some confidence in guys for weeks to come that, hey, we can still make moves on the top side.
Yeah, I mean, he is making ground little by little. It's definitely taking a lot of effort, you can see, but I mean, he has been making ground for sure in this middle groove here. And I think also, honestly, part of it too is just going to be just outright frustration too. It's like, I'm 20 seconds back or whatever, maybe I don't want to ride single file because we're not getting that way either. So screw it. I'm just going to go the middle. Let's make something happen and let's just kind of let the chips fall where they may kind of situation. So I'm not saying that's what Matt Wagner's thinking, but if I'm in that situation where they are right now, that's probably one of the approaches I might be taking.
No, I absolutely agree with you. You know, they're kind of outnumbered. They got 3 cars versus 7 there on the bottom line. So I think they're doing pretty well, you know, with what they have.
Yeah, I mean, and you've seen they've been able to get to the 20 of Alberto. Oh, as I said, a contact between, I believe that was the 73. I want to say that may have been Mark Brown getting into the side of 76 of Jim Brooks. So say Jim Brooks took a pretty big shot to the outside wall here. Say it's going to also get him out of this lead draft. So we'll go back and see how that all happened there while we were watching that group. But yeah, so say a big shot there though between the two of them. I'm not sure how it occurred. So watch the 73 here of Mark Brown on the inside line. No, actually, it looks like Jim kind of peeks down a little bit to the 76, and actually, you see the cars actually kind of go through one another. And I think they talk about the side draft, Dale. It looks like it all honestly really looks like it pulled the 73 up as well into him. So yeah, again, we talked about the side draft, just the risk versus reward, and right now it seems like the risk is definitely far, far greater than that reward.
Yeah, you can see. I was just watching from the chase view. You could see where the 73, you know, he lost maybe 1 or 2 mile an hour. I mean, it wasn't a substantial speed difference, but he definitely lost speed, and then it did look like it just sucked him toward the wall.
So I mean, I'd say maybe another learning point here where it's like, okay, side drafting maybe does not work very well in the turns. Have to do it in the straightaways just for the sake of safety, really, because it looks like I said, it does pull that car possibly out towards you or wherever you're kind of pulling them. So we'll keep an eye. What I am noticing though up front though is I feel like these guys, the 1 Gabe Butler, 25 Kevin Freeze, I'd say while they've been dominating here, we haven't had a chance to really talk about them much, but it really looks like they've have the ability of getting a little closer to that bubble that we talked about before. You can see Kevin Freeze here. He's actually been able to get right to that back of the 1 car of Gabe Butler. So these guys are able to squeeze that gap just a little bit closer. And I think that's why we're seeing the speed so much quicker from this lead pack.
Yeah, they're much faster than the second pack, but we're still not hitting 200 mile an hour like we're used to.
Yeah, you're right. So right now it looks like it was about 195 in the turns for them, but yeah, you're right. It holds pretty steady, really. I'll say it looks like Kevin's trying to prove us wrong here. You know, so he gets to 199 here. He does hit 200 just for a brief moment before they go back entering turn 3 here. Saying again, they're going to be looks like about probably 5 more laps until they make their second round of pit stops here. Unless, as I say that, they're actually going to be pitting this time around. And saying again, a big group of them here, all coming in. So now they make sure they stagger well. Slight contact between the 1 and the 87. So hopefully that neither of those guys sped on the entry here. But again, you see just the strategy and the teamwork between them all kind of staggering apart from one another. Yeah,
I figured they would. I figured they would be out a little longer. I'm sure they're talking and figuring everything out. I just didn't expect them to be coming this time.
Yeah, it looks like they're all coming out together. So I'd say it looks like mission accomplished there for lack of speeding for all of them. It looks like everybody's getting out together. Looks like the one who might be the odd man out is going to be the 17 in Chad Wilkes. I think he's going to lose these guys, unfortunately, on this pit stop cycle. So you can see him just getting up to speed now and say, yeah, there's no way he's going to be able to catch them on this pit exit now. What I'm thinking it could be, though, Dale, is one of those things they talk about is trying to avoid plugging in that second can of fuel. So we'll see if that may have been what it is, where they can do 2 stops here under a can of fuel here to get to the end, to say, to kind of shorten each stop here, because those last pit stops they took this time were just about 7-8 seconds here, so I think they've definitely been doing the math here.
Yeah, and that's a good point. There's a substantial time difference on pit lane between 1 and 2 cans of fuel, and if you're not taking tires and you can get away with 1 can, then that's definitely the way to go.
Yeah, so I'll say right now you see the top 3, they've kind of actually broken away now a little bit of this group here. However, so basically with everything cycling the way it has here, leader now is going to be shown as that 6 of Bud Steele. He's got Matt Quick behind him. Again, Bud was one of those, he was the last to pit that under that first set of pit stops, so with him being kind of out front controlling the rest of this time here, he's going to probably have to pit probably at the same time as the rest of these guys here, which I'll say we'll see what their strategy is going to be at this point. It seems like, I think with as far as they've gone, they're going to have to run this out and just do the full set of fuel and then do a splash at the very end.
They got a nice big group back here in this second pack, so they should be able to conserve fuel, make some decent time. They don't like the front runners. I say front runners, but Raymond Rittenauer, Gabe Butler and company, like they're just always so close. It looked like we might have had an issue.
Yeah, there was a little bit of contact between the 27 of Craig Forsythe, and I think it was the 73 of Mark Brown that may have gotten to the quarter panel of him. So we'll go back and take a look. Craig with a huge save. I don't know how he hung on to that car. We'll take a quick look again here. So while they were going through 1 and 2, see if we can find a better shot of it here. Yeah, you can see Craig kind of up just about half a groove. I said Mark Brown was able to kind of get in that little bubble, if you will, but unfortunately, say that opened the door where then Mark gets just into the left rear quarter panel. But again, just quick hands by Craig to hang on, so you see everybody giving him room to kind of recover from it. But the problem with that was, though, with that him having to recover it, he unfortunately is going to lose that draft, so he's going to unfortunately have a handful of laps here now off on his own.
Yeah, but there's no reason that race car didn't eat either the inside or the outside wall. That was a heck of a save.
Yeah, so that's all. Honestly, the only reason it didn't was because of Craig Forsythe hanging on to that thing. So yeah, great job by him there. So yes, right now, so you can see it's kind of crazy. The pit stop cycle, it's kind of just inverted the gaps between the fields. Say now it's about that 10-11 seconds we talked about between Raymond Rittenauer and Bud Steele. So you can see it's now they're about 11 seconds out, but again they're a pit stop ahead. So and with the pace that they have, Dale, again they're running nearly a second faster a lap. These guys are getting to the point where they're going to be able to catch this lead pack that have yet to pit and basically be on that same cycle of them. So yeah, again, these guys, and to me, the biggest thing I'm looking at in this group here is you can just see the visual gap between them is just so much closer than the other groups.
Yeah, and not really staying in line. People just moving around. Side to side, bigger gaps, all that stuff compounds.
And the other thing to mention is in this lead pack, those that pitted that second time already, the only 3 in this first pack right now, I believe, are going to be Raymond Rittenauer, Gabe Butler, and Dean Wilkinson. They were all able to nail their pit stops, but then Kevin Freese, he was the next one in that cycle. He's a little bit off the group here. You can see there how far back they are from them. As you got a couple of guys here pitting. Looks like that 29 car was in. And also the 26 and 28, so they're all hitting the pit road here together. So basically Kevin Freese, he's going to have to work hard here to try to close this gap back down to Raymond Rittenauer. And trying to look at lap times of 48.89 for Kevin Freese compared to Raymond's 49.0. So they were about a tenth of a second quicker. So if they can get just a little closer, they can pick up the toe from that last car in that group here. They might still have a chance to go after it.
Yeah, and Kevin Freese, we always talk about how great he is at, at these big tracks and drafting. The 8 car as well. Hash as well in that group. I'm having trouble with names tonight. Kevin Hash as well. Eric Laurie. Like these guys are really good on these super speedways, so they're making good time for the amount of cars they have.
Yeah, exactly right. So say a lot of lead pack went ahead and pitted that last time around. Say Matt Quick in right now. Again, somehow though, Bud Steele's still able to make some fuel in that 6 car. I don't think he's gonna be able to go nearly as far as he did that last time by, just because of how long he's been running by himself here. So I would suspect we'll see most likely the 6 and the 20 to pit this time around. We'll kind of wait and see as they get a little bit closer here. Yeah,
it looks like everybody's on and off together, so that was a good stop.
So yeah, so pit stops going on right now. You see the 6 of Bud Steele, the 20 of Alberto Lopez. They hit the pits. So that's going to cycle things back now to that 87 of Raymond right now. And you can see already they're right there on him. So that's going to cycle Raymond right back to the lead here. Again, how fast they've been throughout the race here. And saying with them losing those couple of guys, that's only going to have the 3 cars now. Saying that's going to be the 87 of the 1 and the 55 of Dean Wilkinson. And that's going to be a really big opportunity here now, Dale, for Kevin Freese, because they got a few more cars in their pack. And I think they're just about in that window to start kind of sniff that draft from Dean Wilkinson. So I think we're going to see that last time by, Kevin was about half a second quicker than Raymond. So I think we're about to see that kind of that crossover point.
Yeah, dude, Conrad just, right to the back bumper of the 25 car, Kevin Freese. So my question comes when they get through do they carry the momentum to the outside and keep trucking, or do they just fall in line?
I'm going to suspect they're going to fall right in line. That way they kind of keep it still between them. Even with how they are right now, it's already going to be between them, obviously, as things run here. So I think I suspect, though, we're going to see them kind of just stay in line and kind of just wait until it's really kind of basically time for the paycheck, if you will. So we're watching Kevin Freese here. So they're actually coming around. I believe that's the 28 we were just talking about. Yeah, Harrison Womack, they're going to put him a lap down here. So what Harrison's going to try to do here is, he's going to try to tuck in line right now, because that could put him as the first car 1 lap down. Again, because Dude Conrad, he's in that second group. So this might actually change the plans here, Dale. And as I say that, I actually see one ducking off into the pits. That is the 86 of Kyle Hess. I think this might change their idea of riding, because that 8 car's not going to want to be trapped a lap down here.
Yeah, I think, we saw Matt Wagner and company go to the outside and made ground. I think, if it's me and I'm Kevin Freese and Dude Conrad, I want to give it a shot.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So I think we will say we'll actually hop on board with that 25 of the 8 of Dude Conrad. We'll switch to the 25 of Kevin Freese here, because they're there now, Dale. I say that last time by they were in the 48s again. You can visually see they're going to be there. So now the question, like I said, is do they stay here, or are they going to take that momentum to the top? But actually, surprisingly, the 28 car, he moves to the top. I say if I was him, I would have kept that bottom line, because like I mentioned, that's the battle for that lucky dog spot between himself and the 8 car. So he's actually kind of just giving the 8 a big break right here.
Yeah, there's no way I would have jumped up high and let him by me. What is not happening?
No, I think I'd be in the same boat. Like, all right, yeah, if you want to try it, go for it. But I'm gonna stay with that draft. So yeah, so I say now with that being said, I think they are gonna stay lined up here just like they are. I'll say the other thing again is Kevin Freese might have to save a little bit of fuel to kind of recoup what he had to burn to catch these guys. And saying the part that really, I think the driver that's really kind of hurt the worst out of all of this again is that 17 of Chad Wilkes. I say he was in that group with these guys when they made that pit stop. You look at him now, he's still in 7th position, but he's been running 10 laps here by himself, and he still has nobody with him here. So just unfortunately, just from bad to worse for that 17 car. So they just didn't quite get the pit stop he was needing to catch him. And yeah, just unfortunately, it's just completely kind of unraveled his race thus far.
Yeah, and Matt Quick still got a little bit to catch up with him. Everybody's so spread out now that he's going to have to ride here for quite a bit by himself.
Yeah, so right now, you look at the gaps between the leaders here. So you got the lead 6 within basically half a second of one another here. And you have to go 27 seconds back to Chad Wilkes and over 30 back to Matt Quick. Again, part of that's because of the longer pit stop for those guys. And, of course, the other part is just the outright pace that Raymond and company have been putting on here as they're about to catch a few more drivers to try to put them a lap down. But what I'm seeing here, though, with these guys is just the fact that, again, just the pace that they've been having here tonight. it's just going to be, again, it's going to be tough to beat them. You're going to have to pretty much be on your A game to do so. And say, so basically, like, really the only one that of the usual suspects, as I like to call him, Dean Wilkinson, he's been able to stick with them here. He's kind of worked the same strategy as them, and it's worked to fruition here. So say he's going to have to try to do that for one more pit stop and make sure he can be in the running for this one at the end. I think these guys can go a few more laps before the, say, I think basically like 3-4 more laps until I think they're solidly in their fuel window. So we'll see how that comes out to play. I'll say right now, like you mentioned about Matt Quick, he's just about to get to that 17 of Chad Wilkes now. And I'll say for Chad, it's one of those things, again, you just kind of wish that this would have happened sooner. That way you could have been able to have that pace more in your car earlier. I'll say, but yeah, so I'd say actually now that you're talking about Matt Quick trying to do something on the top side, you see him now. It looks like he's trying to pull some side draft, not slide job, side draft on the 6 of Bud Steele, but he's gonna have to get back in line there. So, as I say that, actually, Bud Steele, he's gonna jump to the top. I don't know if that's because he wants Matt to follow him, or if he's just trying to let Matt go on here.
I know Matt Wagner pretty well, as do you, and I know he's never happy just riding. So, if he can get some company up top, he'll give it a second go.
Yeah, again, I mean, at this point, it's like, what do you have to lose kind of thing. Again, these guys all are going to have to make one more pit stop here. It will be a significantly shorter pit stop than the leaders will. Again, the leaders pitted about 15 laps ago. These guys pitted just about 8 ago. So say they'll be able to take a shorter pit stop. Again, it's not going to be enough to do anything with that deficit because, again, at this rate, I say just watching the speed difference between these guys, again, it's been about at least a half a second faster for Raymond Rittenauer and company. Honestly, if this goes green to the end, Dale, there's a very good potential that Raymond and that group might be able to actually pretty much lead up to this lead up to around the 7th, 8th position here if they keep what they're doing.
Yeah, I was just looking at that and trying to do some math in my head, and if that happens, I think everybody's got to take a look at their super speedway strategies and adjust. I mean, because Raymond Rittenauer, Gabe Butler, Dean Wilkinson, Kevin Freeze obviously have it figured out.
Yeah, I think if that does happen, I think the game plan is going to be do what they do and just nail your pit stops. And that's going to be your best chance to have to try to win these races or at least be in contention. So, again, right now, we got the top 6 still in this lead pack here. The 87, Raymond Rittenauer, still leading the way with Gabe Butler. Dean Wilkinson, kind of breaking up those guys, if you will. Then you've got the 25 of Kevin Freeze, Kevin Hash, and Eric Laurie, all in that top 6 here in this lead pack. So, again, one more pit stop to go. We're here at 21 to go. Just coming to the line here is going to be 20 to go. This should be just about in their window to make it to the end. So I'm curious to see now, when is that when do you decide to make that last stop here to go to the end? And I just kind of wonder again with the interval they have. Obviously they can wait if they choose to. But yeah, I'm not sure when the decision is going to be to make this last pit stop. But obviously it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be really important not to make any mistake because, we saw Chad Wilkes. Unfortunately, he did not quite get the pit stop he needed. And, he went from being in that lead pack to now being still in 7th position, but, again, over 30 seconds back.
Yeah, that's exactly right. 7th position. Potentially going a lap down, these how many we got? 7th through 15th, it looks like.
Actually, here comes that last pit stop we just talked about. You see everybody starting to stagger on the entry. It looks like so far so good. So I think everybody looks like they all did a really good job of getting down to speed here. So this is the final schedule stop for Raymond Rittenauer, Gabe Butler, Dean Wilkinson, Kevin Freeze, Kevin Hash, and Eric Laurie. Dude Conrad also in the pits with them along with Craig Forsythe. So now the biggest step, now the next step I should say, is make sure you hit your pit box. Don't overshoot it. And it looks like all these guys just nail their pits boxes, which I say that's something I can't say I can do week in and week out. So hats off to these guys. As yeah, it looks like they're all doing a pretty good job again getting back together. Now they got to be sure not to speed and then also not to merge too soon. But actually that one car, Gabe Butler, he gets a really good pit exit there. And the craziest part here, Dale, is it's possible that Gabe's going to get out here and still hold on to this lead if he can get up to speed quick enough, because here come that second group. Again, they've yet to make their final pit stop, And right now, Gabe Butler, after his final stop, he's still showing as our race leader. But this is where drivers got to be careful not to merge out too soon and not to get caught up in one another.
Yeah, and that bottom line's kind of in a tough predicament with guys coming off pit lane, lapping cars as well. Is Gabe Butler maintains the lead, and Matt Quick just kind of tucks in behind him.
So right now our race leader literally a pit stop in front of the guys around him here. So he's going to hold on to that lead here. So he had a really good pit stop there, nailed his pit box, got the entry exit perfectly. So right now, the second car that's going to be in line here after their pit stop, I believe is going to be, I think the 55 of Dean Wilkinson, if I'm not mistaken, who is actually in the 10th position as they run here. So the only thing that's going to hurt Gabe here is when these guys all have to peel off to make their final pit stops. Gabe's going to be all by himself here. With about a couple seconds of a gap between himself and that 55 machine.
Yeah, definitely something he's got to be thinking about, and I'm sure that he's communicating with the guys on his team that's behind him and all that, and how they're going to handle that situation, because that's the only certainty that they know right now is that will happen.
Yeah, so right now. Of those that made the pit stops, obviously Gabe Butler still leading the way. Then you got Dean Wilkinson in that 55 machine. He's in that second position. It shows obviously his car shows without a number right now. Actually, as I say that, you see Dean Wilkinson. He's going to try to jump to the top here. You see Matt Wagner here come the kind of the side draft games that we talked about. You see Matt trying to break that draft here. He's going to try to then fall back. So Dean Wilkinson does grab that spot from Matt, but it's actually put Raymond Rittenauer in a bit of a bad spot. Now he's going to tuck back in line in front of the 25. And now it looks like Dean Wilkinson, he's seen that it's working, so he's ready to start clawing that gap back between himself and that race leader of Matt Quick.
Yeah,
Gabe Butler.
I think if you get 4 or 5 guys up there, they'll be in good shape. Like right now, it ain't no big deal because he's good till the end. Everybody's grouped up. Half of the guys in this pack still have to pit. So.
Yeah, saying Dean's got to be careful here, because he's making some pretty big moves here. And we still got 16 to go. He's got to realize that basically everybody in front of him, except for that one car, still have to make a pit stop. So he needs to maybe hold off a little bit, because at some point, what's going to happen here is once they all do duck off again, you see him make big move. You see that, really upset Matt Wagner's car. Matt's going to go for a slide here. Looks like he's just going to hang on to. He's got to be careful getting back out on track. As I say that, he's still trying to catch it. Now goes around here. He's out by himself here, so it might stay under green after all this. I'll say that is the risk of that side drafting. So again, Matt's not going to be happy about that because he still had a pit stop to make in that car. So we'll see now. Unfortunately, that, and with that now, it's actually kind of separated this group a little bit, because you can see now Dean Wilkinson's got a pretty big gap to Raymond Rittenauer, because I think Raymond just had to react to what was going on in front of him.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that the caution didn't come out, but that's definitely not what Matt Wagner wanted to see. He was praying the yellow would fly.
Yeah, and it would have flown if there was anybody around him, but by the time he lost it, he was out by himself, so that's why it stayed green there. There's nobody around to affect it. So what this has done, again, is and I feel like what this really is going to do, again, because we're not too far away, I feel like the question is going to be, when does Matt Quick and when do these guys pit? You see Chad Wilkes, he hits the pits now. Because Matt Quick, he last pitted about 16 laps ago, and we've got 15 to go, and these guys aren't going to go 30 laps on fuel, so that's just out of the question. I think he can go probably about, I would say, 4 or 5 more laps, basically to about 9 or 10 to go. I think it's about the farthest he can stretch it. And then again, that's going to be where then Gabe Butler is going to be kind of out on his own for just a little bit until these guys around him start kind of closing that gap back up. Because he's going to be rolling on his own versus having anybody behind him pushing.
Yeah, and it's a big gap. A second here is a long ways, and it's kind of hard to see on a broadcast, like the distance that a second is on this track, but it's quite a distance.
Yeah, the best I can give you right now is it's showing about a second between himself and Kevin Freese. So basically, you see the one at the line now. And we're going to jump back to the 25 car there. He's at line. It happens very quickly, but at the same time, the distance is very large. And so the problem that's what's going to happen for Gabe, as I said, you see Raymond Rittenauer, he's starting to try to make the top line move. And you can see, once you get some people you trust, you're going to kind of get that tandem draft here. And that's exactly what we're seeing between that 25 and the 87. as you're going to try to lock onto one another here and try to push to the front.
And they're safe to do it. Again, most of these guys still have to pit. So it's really a safe move at this point in the race.
See, I'd be in the opposite approach here, Dale. I feel like, you know what, I'm just going to ride here in the back of this group because I don't want to risk a yellow. So I'm just going to be cruising basically in the single file line until they all pit, and that's when I lock on and start making my moves here, because I just feel like when you start tandeming, if you start going side by side, if you start playing the side draft games, I should say, that's when you're going to start losing your time. So why not just wait for all of these guys to make their final pit stop? Because again, none of them can stretch it that far. So why not maybe just make that wait for the pit stops to happen and then make that move to try to get to the one of Gabe Butler.
No, and you're right there, and we've seen the side drafting incidents a couple times today, so that's absolutely right. And you see the 8 of Dude Conrad decides he's had enough and ducks back down to the bottom.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the same for here come the 87-25. They went for it, didn't quite work out. I say, really, again, all you got to do is wait about probably 3, maybe 4 more laps here, and all these guys in front of them are going to have to pit, and that's going to be when they're going to be able to do their damage. Because again, Gabe Butler, he's going to be out by himself here once these guys all pit, because they all pitted together pretty much. So that one car is going to basically go from running 40 right now mid 49s to probably 51 second lap times by himself until those guys behind him get there. So unfortunately, it's one of those things where the good pit stop that Gabe had could become a hindrance for him actually in this race.
Yeah, and there's there's 5 cars grouped up together that do not have to pit. So there's nobody breaking them up. So when they get to Gabe, they're going to have a full head of steam.
Yeah, so I think right now the wild card in this one's going to be that Mad Dog card of Dean Wilkinson. I say he's right now in front of some of those guys like we mentioned of Raymond Rittenauer, Kevin Freeze, Kevin Hash, Eric Laurie. So I think that's going to be the one to keep an eye on to see what he does. So I have just a sinking suspicion that they're going to try to see if they can find the way to get around him on their way to that one car.
Just a little suspicion?
Just a little suspicion. Not a big one, but we'll see. So, and with that, though, I mean, we're 10 to go here already, Dale. So, again, that pit window very close to opening for these guys to where they have to make their final pit stop here. So they're going to be pitting here with single digits to go left in this race. But actually, as I say, that Raymond Renner catches kind of the middle ground. Oh, no, Raymond Renner actually catches the apron there. He's going to hang on to it here for the moment. He's about the same thing as Matt Wagner. It looks like he's finally going to catch it there. Unfortunately, I say that's going to cost him the draft as well. Let's go back and see what happened to the 87 car. Not sure if he had a little bit of help or if it just maybe lost it a little bit. So looking back on the replay here, entering turn number 3. Yeah, looks the car just got loose on entry for him for whatever reason. Does a great job, though, to prevent himself from getting involved in any of it. You see all the guys jump to the top to avoid him as well. So unfortunately, I say Raymond Renner, that's going to be a big disadvantage for him. Obviously, he is obviously wanting to be a part of this one. So now that's going to open the door for Kevin Freeze to be the one to try to figure out when and where to make this move. And he's going to actually do it now here, Dale. You see he's getting right to that quarter panel, and he's going to jump to the top here. And here come the pit stops. This may have been a perfect time move by that 25 car.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning that if Kevin Freeze brings it home today, he will be the only 2-time winner this season.
Yeah, I said they're still fighting 2x2. So this is the situation I was talking about for that number 1 of Gabe Butler. So we're going to watch from the back because, again, they're all going to be quicker than him here, but they're all running 2x2, and you can see it looks like the majority of them have gone to that top side. So now the question is, what does Gabe do when these guys have kind of, no matter what, they're going to get to him. So what Gabe's going to try to do here is figure out where he can maybe try to put a block if he needs to and get in front of the correct car to make something happen here.
It looks like Eric Laurie's going to be the odd man out as everybody else jumps to the bottom line.
Yeah, so it looks like they've been able to get a couple of them through. So, and actually, Kevin Freeze, he ducks back in behind the one of Gabe Butler. So I think he decided he's going to wait to see about when to make this final move. And again, so now actually the question mark is going to be the 8 car of Dude Conrad, because right now, again, he's the first car one down. So he's kind of the outlier, if you will, where he could basically affect somebody's race here and maybe push somebody to the win. I'd say not obviously making any effect to his position overall. So Now with, let's say, unfortunately what happened to Raymond Rittenauer, now we've got 5 cars here in this lead pack here going to be going out for the win here.
Yeah, Raymond Rittenauer, just really unfortunate. And you really don't see things like that out of him where a car will just snap loose. So I'm kind of interested in what, really happened there. He's just not a guy who makes those kind of mistakes.
Yeah, exactly right. So it's kind of surprised to see it happen. So, and again, it could be, is it related to the package or not? We don't know. Say, well, I'm sure we can kind of get some insight from him after the race. Let's say, unfortunately, doesn't at this point. I'll say won't count it out yet, but at this point, won't be able to have a chance to interview with him. But we'll definitely try to see if we can get to the bottom of what happened there to him. But that being said, though, so again, 6 to go here. Everybody's still in this lead pack here, running single file. I think a lot of these guys just biding their time to win to make this move to try to get the win, or at least try to get a top 3 position here. Those that pitted, though, we mentioned Raymond Rittenauer. Say he's already good to go to the end as well. He just unfortunately had that mistake, but he is in a nice little pack here, and I think that's going to protect him and hold that 6th place pretty solidly should things continue how they are. And then say we have to go pretty ways back to get to Matt Quick in 7th here, about 36 seconds off the lead. He's got Bobby Hash and Michael Spell with him. And I say right now the last car in the top 10 is the 73 of Mark Brown, who's actually running on his own as well. And then the last car in the lead lap is that 101 of Randy Miner. And say he's actually just about to get lapped here as well. So right now these guys are working. They're not too far away here. They're going to be lapping up to the top 10. Alright, so coming around here, 4 to go here. And so, yeah, so right now we have 10 cars on the lead lap, soon to be 9 because, let's say, again, the 73, unfortunately, has no drafting partners with him. And, again, just the outright pace these guys have had. Again, you can see the 25 of Kevin Freese. He's able to say he's one of the few that can really break that bubble. He gets inside that little bubble of the one car, and I'm saying that's just able to help them go that much quicker. So I was saying we'll see if that's maybe, again, just try to plan the move to when he can make the right move at the right time to see if he can snag the win for himself here tonight.
Yeah, I keep watching Dude Conrad, and he's been doing it all race. He'll jump high, so I think there might be, maybe he's unsure of that key temperature, or that thing just having cooling issues. But I've been watching him do that all race.
Yeah, I'll have to keep an eye on him as well. You can see, again, they are starting to jockey around a little bit more as we're going to come across here. 3 laps to go as they cross the travel, hit the start-finish line now. And so you can see that 73 Mark Brown, he is going to jump to the top side. And that's what's crazy here, Dale. I mean, these guys are, you think about like getting lapped, like, oh man, my race is ruined. And it's like, I mean, this is right inside the top 10 right now with some of these guys. So, I mean, it's very rare that you have a top 10 at Daytona Talladega while being a lap down.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right there, and you don't want to be that lap down car, but how can you be mad at a top 10 finish?
Because I mean, yes, and that's, I mean, if you talk about a successful season, it's getting those top 5, top 10 finishes, and I mean, right now, let's say the top 5 are all in this lead pack, but let's say our 6th place car, again, he's 15 seconds out, and just again, it just really shows just the outright pace and strategy that these top 5 have had tonight. They've been able to perform and execute to perfection as we just cross here now, 2 to go. And I think what we're going to see is if and when there's a move, it's going to be on the last lap for sure. I don't think anybody's going to try to move sooner than that. And then the question is going to be, where do you go? Do you wait till the backstretch? Do you wait till off of turn number 4? Last week we saw Kevin Freese try to make a move off 4. He felt like normally that would have worked, but didn't work for him. So he's going to have to make an adjustment to figure out what's the right decision for him here.
Yeah, they're going to start catching draft off these lap cars ahead too. So Matt Wagner just moved up to the high side behind Kawabe Brooks. So going to get him out of the draft, but I think that's going to play a key role in how this thing finishes.
Yeah, I definitely could. Saying this is kind of the second most important flag that these drivers want to see here. It's going to be first this white flag. That way they know this race is going to end under the normal circumstances tonight. So we have 1 to go. So now again, the question is going to be right now the top 2 are position. 3rd car 1 lap down. Then you got the 03 of Kevin Freese, that 55 Dean Wilkinson. I'll say those guys are all on the lead lap. Then that 071 Eric Laurie as well. So the question is who's going to make the move and win. right now, so it looks like they said, Dale, just everybody really hesitant to try to make the wrong move at the wrong time and possibly lose a couple spots here at the end.
Yeah, time passed. You'd start making that move right about now, coming off of 4, but everybody's still in line, so interested to see how this turns out.
Yeah, I think just there isn't the momentum that they needed here, and you can see the 8 of Dude Crown moving up just a little bit now. So he comes back down in line. So it looks like everybody's going to stay kind of lockstep here at the end. So Gabe Butler going to get the win over the 25 of Kevin Freeze. Kevin Hash going to grab the 3rd position. Dean Wilkinson 4th. Eric Laurie going to get a top 5. So we'll jump back here to see who's going to grab the 6th position. Looks like Raymond Renauer kind of off on his own right here. Going to be our 6th position place finisher. And I'm saying again, I mean, here's 7th through 9th. They're saying they're still just now coming through 3 and 4, just again to show the pace that these guys up front had. I say we'll see if any late moves here to kind of complete our top 10 here. And it looks like Matt Quick's going to hang on to that 7th position. Bobby Hash in 8th. Michael Spell is going to grab 9th position. And say in 10th position went to Dude Conrad here. But say the man of the race tonight is going to be that one of Gabe Butler. So he's just going to do an extra lap just for good measure, it looks like. But gets the win tonight here at Talladega. Caution free, I'll say. But yeah, you can see just the race strategy, the overall kind of game plan tonight. Definitely very different than what we've seen before. But say some guys adjusted exactly to where they needed to tonight to make it happen. But it's all said and done, though, Dale. Say our top 6 finishers all qualified within the top 10.
Yeah, just not a whole lot of opportunities for guys to move around and make passes. Plenty of opportunities to lose positions, sadly, but as far as moving forward, very difficult.
I think that's the key thing, is it's the lots of opportunity to lose the positions. I think that's what got a lot of these drivers tonight was just being afraid to make those mistakes. And so I think that extra lap may have done it for the fuel on that number 1 machine to Gabe Butler. So unfortunately not going to be able to do any celebrating. Oh, no, he's got enough. He's going to do some burnouts here in 3 and 4, at least a little one there as we watch him through. So we'll keep an eye on him, but then we're going to go and talk to our top 3. And I say we're going to start off with that 0-3 of Kevin Hash. All right, Dale, so we're going to pull up our 3rd place finisher, that 0-3 of Kevin Hash. I'll say Kevin qualified in the 5th position, finishes up in 3rd tonight. But I'll say, again, just this new package, Kevin, I say it's definitely changed the strategies and how to kind of what you need to do. It seemed like obviously the right choice is to qualify up front and stay up front, because we did not see very many people able to move from the back to the front here this evening. And obviously then, of course, pit strategy being, I think, the name of the game, getting and then executing that pit strategy as well, because it just seemed slowly but surely like you guys would kind of just drop a few more, and then, like I said, became just, I believe, 5 of you at the end.
Yeah, that's like this new package, pit strategy and pitting, being able to get on and off pit road with as much time is crucial. I mean, if you miss it by a little bit, unless you got a friend there to help you, you're done right there. But yeah, really, even with this new package, the fix set, the iRacing fix set seemed to race. You could actually really have 2 lines here. This one didn't seem to. This one seemed like it could do it on the high line, but it really wanted to just, if you had 3 cars on the bottom line, you wouldn't get bombed. So we knew that from the beginning. So we knew it was just going to be endurance, just try and survive, stay on the bottom, make clean pit stops, and try to stay together with your friends.
Yeah, so it kind of showed me when we actually, unfortunately, did have a pretty good example of that one. One of those being Chad Wilkes was with you guys, and then just unfortunately one of the pit stops lost touch with you guys on the exit. And then from then on, I mean, he was out by himself, and so he went from being in that lead pack to falling all the way back to, I think, like 20, 30 plus seconds. And I mean, that's the next thing is, I mean, obviously a part of it, of course, is the pit stops and everything. But I mean, you guys were, even with this new package, I mean, you guys still were finding ways to be half a tenth or more a lap quicker, or sorry, half a second, I should say, or more a lap quicker. Because I mean, when you look at it, at the overall results here tonight, you had 9 cars on the lead lap, 10th on back were a lap down. And again, pretty consistently, you guys were running significantly quicker than cars, even when there were bigger groups around you guys. So were you able to figure out something like to maybe either try to get just a little bit closer to that bubble to help the speeds overall? Or I mean, I say obviously if you don't want to make you give out secrets, but I mean, what seemed to be the pace difference for you guys?
I think really us just knowing how each one of us drives so well, and you could throw us probably in about any car out there, and all of us that race together can usually hook together and figure it out within a little bit of time. And that's the same thing with this package. It just took a little bit of time. We figured out where we needed to position the car, how we needed to position it to get runs, and still, not run over the car in front of you. That's the biggest key, because if you break that bubble, sometimes it'll make the car go wishy-washy on the back stretch or on the front stretch, and you really don't want to do that. But you still got to make sure you stay close enough to actually get that speed out of the car, because you could run in a single file. Anybody out there could run a single file line. Knowing the distance you need to save to stay and save fuel and still be fast was very key. And I think we all kind of figured that out within the last couple of weeks, and then we all kind of got together enough to the point to where it was going to take a caution or something crazy to split us up, because we kind of had it planned out. Poor Ray had a little bit of a computer issue. Windows Defender decided that he did not need to be with us in the lead pack there coming toward the end. I have to give a shout out to him, because I think he would have easily probably got third if it wasn't for that. So I hate that for him. But yeah, it's not, I don't want to say that it's not hard, but it takes a little bit of practice and a little bit of understanding, because everybody wants to just jump out there and side draft, and you can't do that and stay fast. The second somebody starts side drafting, you're going to pull the other car back. And if you can stay in a line, break that bubble enough, it's a whole different ball game, like you said, where we were running half a second faster.
Yeah, and actually the side drafts, I mean, that's actually a really good point, because that was something Dale and I saw tonight, where we saw a couple of attempts of side drafts. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it went very wrong. It seemed like, obviously, because I would say one of the risks of getting right up to one another is, of course, our the infamous net code that we see from iRacing. Is that something that you've noticed as well, of being maybe a preference of where, if you need to do a side draft, or where to do it? Because we saw it in a turn, and it seemed like it actually pulled the car from the bottom up to the top. So we kind of maybe came with the idea of like, well, maybe it needs to be done on the straightaway to kind of have that little bit of an extra safety cushion.
Just primarily where you set the car. Like it used to be important to not offset too much, but you needed to a little bit to get on the bumper. Whereas now, it can help it to offset a little bit, but the key is once you get into that danger zone, you have to make sure you're dead on their bumper in the center, especially at the Camaro. Otherwise, with the more slanted nose, it will push. If you're offset to the left, it'll try to push the other guy up higher. I had that happen a few times with some people that were following me, and it wasn't nothing major. I've figured out to a point how I can keep myself from sliding up the track a lot, but it's still on that ragged edge. I don't think it's as much netcode. I think netcode does affect it a lot, but I think it's a lot of where you position that car directly behind them.
Yeah, it definitely appeared to be, like I said, kind of an art to make this work tonight. And you guys performed and executed perfectly this evening. I know you got some glittery sponsors you got to thank though tonight, so I definitely wanted to give you the floor here.
Yeah, I got to thank, actually, don't know if it loaded for this one or not. I'd left the Hash Brothers performance car on there, so to finally get an interview with that paint scheme on the car is awesome. I was hoping I was going to get it at Michigan, then some bad luck fell my way, but yeah, to finally get that paint scheme in there. I know Larry's been dropping the ball. Larry ain't been getting up there and in the interviews as much here lately, so I guess somebody had to do it. But them Stripper Glitter, Traction Compound, they enjoy. Some of them enjoy watching all these races. Yeah, them, you guys for putting on the broadcast, the league, everything, and just all my friends and teammates out there. It's what makes Sundays fun for me, just being able to hang out with them.
Yeah, so definitely something to be said about being able to race with your buddies. And yeah, I'm gonna update my paints now, so that way we can get a good shot of the car. I think I had last week's on there just because of the whole banner situation that we were working on doing for the Superspeedway series. So but you breaking up a good point though, of maybe looking at doing some maybe looking at different setups where maybe we can make some setup tweaks to help the racing out to where the cars get a little bit more comfortable with one another. So It'll be interesting to see. Like Dale and I were talking about too. We kind of expected that they would change. The iRacing would have made an adjustment already to this package, but so far they've stuck with it. So I'll have to see if that anything changes between now and the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like they're going to leave it alone if they hadn't made an adjustment by now, just knowing how everything has went. But there's always a possibility. We don't know from week to week what iRacing's thinking, what's going on behind the scenes, and sometimes it's a pleasant experience. Sometimes we're over here more wanting to throw stuff across the room because it feels like it's broken. But give me some time, and I feel like I can for the most part figure out this Superspeedway thing. So I need Larry to teach me the other track stuff enough to where I might can compete over there. But yeah, it's definitely a blast.
Yeah, you did an awesome job tonight. So enjoy this one. So I look forward to catching you again on Thursday, of course, as well. So we got the paint scheme up to see. Yeah, we got the unfortunately now dirty Hash Brothers performance car, but yeah, great job though tonight, Kevin. Look forward to catching you again here soon.
10-4, appreciate it, sir.
All right, so now we got to jump over to Better Kevin, as he's referred to at times, at 25 of Kevin Freeze. Say Kevin qualified fourth, finishes in the second position. So say we were talking to other Kevin, if you want to. I don't know what the official terminology is for him, or Hash Brown, or whatever you want to call him. But let's say kind of the strategy that going in tonight. Say Dale and I were mentioning pretty much our top six finishers all qualified within the top 10 tonight. Look like obviously starting position critical to kind of keep that track position from the very get-go. Then we saw a few times where you try to make that outside line work. I think Raymond was working with you at one point. It just didn't quite work out where you guys had to fall back in line there. Were there any thoughts about trying to maybe make a late move on Gabe there, or did you feel like just with him kind of stretched out as far as he did on that pit stop cycle, you guys just didn't want to rock the boat too much at the end there?
Oh, I couldn't materialize any run, and I'm perfectly fine finishing behind Gabe. He's a great teammate. He'd push me and do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, again, I mean, we mentioned to Hash there, I mean, just, I think it was 9 cars on the lead lap tonight, just shows how fast you guys were. Again, we were talking to him, as the pit stops were good. You guys nailed those to getting in and out together. To say that separated a good chunk of the field when that happened. But then even when everybody was back kind of rolling again, just the lap times you guys were able to put down, let's say it seemed like you guys were able to find that like almost half a second or so on the guys around you. With this new draft package, where before we talked about you guys finding strategies of kind of doing the tandem and the switch drivers and all that. Can't do that really now anymore either, but you guys just find a way to maybe just run a little closer in that bubble to kind of pick up the extra speed. And so I don't know, again, not trying to make you give out secrets or anything like that, but have you guys been able to figure something out that kind of helps that overall pace?
Yeah, it's there's ways you can set your car to get draft and try to keep that bubble as small as possible, but really the most important thing is staying in as organized of a line as you can. And I know when we caught that one group after our pit stop, it was a little disorganized and our lap times dropped down. But as long as we were in a straight line, we were flying. At one point, I think we were a full second faster than them.
Yeah, I say Dale and I were kind of getting to the point where we were questioning like how many cars were we going to be able to lap up to. I saying you were able to lap up into the top 10, so it was pretty impressive in itself. Saying unfortunately, dude Conrad has say he had the issues right at the get go there, but was able to then kind of lock back on with you guys and wound up being the first car one lap down after it was all said and done tonight and get the top 10 here. But yeah, so say it sounds like also maybe some setup changes could maybe affect the way these cars handle. Because I know Hash was mentioning the raciness, I guess you could say, between this setup versus maybe the default iRacing setup. Is that something you were able to kind of notice the differences between as well?
Yeah, so after one of the pit stops, we had a little separation and had to push hard. And when dude was pushing me really hard, you could sort of feel the back end of the car coming up out of the track. And especially at a turn 4, it just goes sideways on you randomly. But we know that because we've been practicing a lot with this new draft model. And that's the number one thing you got to do is get those laps in, learn what does not work, and you'll figure out what you need to do to make the best time. And we were super organized from the start and worked together great.
Yeah, so it definitely worked from beginning to end for you guys. You guys did an awesome job tonight. So just again putting on a clinic for how to make these races happen here. So say definitely want to give you the floor though here before we let you go though, Kevin. Any thanks shouts you'd like to give for that second place run tonight?
Yeah, huge shout out to all the guys. We did a great job. Absolutely nailed every pit stop. Everything on the track was perfect for us. Ray got a little bit of damage when I was trying to push him around, and then he had a mishap with windows. But it was a great run for the guys, and thank you to you guys for putting on the broadcast.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun to be a part of you guys again. I mean, just show how important the teamwork is at these kinds of races. So look forward to catching you again next week. So only a couple more races, I believe, until we get to the playoffs. So say obviously everything's going to change for those final 3 races. So enjoy this one for now, and I'm sure we'll be getting back to business here soon next week.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Enjoy your night.
All right, Dale, with that, we got to jump over to our race winner, that number 1 of Gabe Butler. So he qualified in the 3rd position. We'll bring him on over there. So I think for us, Gabe, at least for me, I think the biggest concern or question I was going to have is after that pit stop. I mean, you just nailed your entry because, I mean, you separated yourself from those guys, able to actually hold on to the lead after your pit stop. Let's say you kind of separated with those guys that filed in behind the guys that hadn't made that second or that last pit stop yet. How worried were you at that point where that they might be able to kind of gang up on you, get that big draft to maybe try to just blow by you on those final couple laps?
The group that were behind me, I knew they had to pit, so I knew there was going to be a big gap when they all pitted. And I think Kevin Freeze was leading the first car that wouldn't have had to pit. So when I saw that he was there, I figured he'd just get in behind me, which he did. So I wasn't terribly worried about it when I figured out where he was.
All right, well, way to ruin the drama there. No, I'm just kidding. So say
you that again, and I'll give you a different answer.
I'm just giving you a hard time. But no, I mean, again, just a great job for you tonight. I mean, we were talking to the guys. It seemed like obviously qualifying critical tonight because it's just this new package that's just changed everybody's kind of game plan and how they want to run these races. I mean, we saw right from the get-go, pretty much everybody jumped to the bottom as soon as they had the opening. I think by like lap 3, you guys were pretty much a single file train on the inside line. And then from then on, is it just basically you guys, your game plan is just kind of execute your pit stops, and obviously getting in and out of pits crucially was the kind of the end game there, or was there anything else you guys had to kind of keep in mind as the race unfolded?
Well, we had a pretty good group, and we were putting down some really strong laps. But yeah, getting in and out of pit road was the main thing. I kept trying to get ahead of Ray out of the pits, but he kept nailing them. And then that last one, something happened, and I was able to get out in front of him. I think a few of the guys spun the tires, but yeah, I got a big jump there, and that you kind of really don't want to get too far ahead because you could get steamrolled. But for some reason, this car maintains a pretty decent pace, and that bubble from the group coming up behind you, it really gives you a push. It's strange, but it's the nature of the beast with this particular build. I mean, single file, but if you get a ton of cars up on top, you can make it work. But I mean, you really need a lot of cars that need to be hooked onto each other and people that know what they're doing. So.
Yeah, saying that's the main thing, is to have that kind of a group to compete against you guys. As I were talking to the Kevins before you and talking about just the lap times, even when you guys were a smaller group, I mean, you guys are still getting about half a second or more a lap faster than those guys. Just due to outright drafting abilities and being able to kind of stay locked on with one another. So you guys, I mean, again, just an awesome job this evening to get it done here tonight. So yeah, I just definitely want to give you the floor here. Any thanks and chats I'd like to give for pulling off that win this evening?
Just a big shout out to Team Bootknocker and all the rest of the guys that I raced with, and I'll give Dean Wilkinson a special mention there. I don't think he was aware of when we were going to pit, when we weren't, and he jumped right in with us, and he hung in there, and I think he ended up P4 if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think he finished fourth. Yeah, so and I was kind of we're joking with Dale a little bit before we kicked this all off. And say the strategy is going to be just to kind of jump in with you guys and make pit when you guys pit and just kind of force your hand to do to do everything you guys do to try to have a chance at these ones. Because say again, you guys just are able to execute flawlessly, and you're able to do so again here tonight. So. Yeah, just great job tonight, Gabe. Enjoy that win, though. So I think that's your first of the season. You've had really good results, just haven't been able to break through with the win. Obviously, that's going to go in nicely to help you kind of work that points gap to be able to go into those final 3 races for the playoffs.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And big shout out to Area 51 and yourself for the broadcast. And I think there may be a change in the Superspeedway with the cars from what I'm hearing. So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I know, they've been quizzing the drivers, see what they want to do on the long-term side of things. So, like I said, may have a mid-season change. Could definitely shake things up a little bit. But say we'll keep an eye on that, and yeah, we'll be ready for it on our side too. But yeah, for now though, say just enjoy this one and look forward to catching you again here soon.
All right, Gail. Thanks, man.
All right, Dale, that's our race winner, Gabe Butler, in that number 1 machine. So say you see, I mean, sounds like these guys again. It doesn't matter what packages, they're gonna find the little things that make a big difference in these races. And say they were able to do that again tonight with the drafting, the strategies. Just did everything right again here tonight at Talladega here. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. Say there are potentials for some changes. Could it be setup? Could it be the overall car? Maybe we go to the Xfinity car or the trucks. The next couple of weeks. I mean, that could really throw a wrench into some of these driver strategies.
Yeah, I'm sure whichever way Area 51 decides to go, they're going to discuss it. It's going to be a calculated decision. That's one thing I'm certain of. So excited to hear what they have in mind or what they're going to change and see how it performs on the track.
Yeah, that'll be fun to see what they do here this for that overall championship. Because again, I said this is the completion of race number 6. So we got 3 more to go until the playoffs begin. So we got next week will be iRacing Superspeedway again, then Daytona, Talladega, and then we're gonna have the top 8 drivers gonna battle out for the championship. 2 races at iRacing, then Daytona. That'll then separate the field down from the 8 to the 4, and then they'll have that final race at Talladega. So again, it's crazy to think that we're already halfway through this season, but yes, it's gonna be interesting. Different builds, possibly different cars, and so they're gonna have to kind of earn their keep to make it happen this season. So yeah, so Dale, as always, enjoyed it. Say definitely a different strategy one tonight. I think again everybody's just trying to adjust to the package, figure out what's their best approach. I'll say tonight was definitely going for I'd say less aggressive approach for some of these drivers. But I think we're gonna see a lot different racing next week at iRacing Superspeedway, pending either setup changes or vehicle changes, whatever it may be. So it'll be fun to see what they come up with for next week.
Yeah, I agree. Whatever they do, it's going to be a different product. It's going to affect everybody equally, which is a good thing. And we're going to get to see a lot, different strategies and takes on how to race either the new package or the new car.
Yeah, so we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. And they'll be letting us know beforehand. So we'll definitely let you guys know on our side as well if we can. We'll definitely mention what car it is leading up to Sundays. But until then, I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Get ready for our work week again. But of course, as always, if you can, until Tuesday night, if you can, please try to stay home, stay safe, wash your hands, and have a good night.